They said the man was a nobody. Tattered coat, mud-stained shoes, a face that looked worn by too many years and too little luck. To the officers of the small town of Clearbrook, he was just another drifter who didn't belong, someone to question, to control, to move along. But by the end of that day, the same officers who dragged him to the pavement in front of the diner would be standing frozen, eyes wide, hearts pounding, realizing they had just handcuffed one of the most decorated federal agents in the country. And the lesson that followed would haunt that department forever. The morning began like any other in Clearbrook, a quiet, sun-bleached town where gossip spread faster than wind. Locals filled the diner by Main Street, sipping black coffee and trading half-truths about whoever passed through. That morning, the bell above the diner door jingled. Heads turned. A man stepped in, tall, scruffy, wearing a faded trench coat that had seen better years. His boots were cracked, his hands rough, his beard unshaven. He looked like someone who'd been living out of his car, maybe even under bridges. He didn't order food right away. Just coffee, no sugar, no milk. The waitress, nervous but polite, poured him a cup and whispered to the cook, "Looks like trouble." Outside, a patrol car rolled past. The officer inside, Sergeant Cole, noticed the stranger and frowned. In a town where everyone knew everyone, unfamiliar faces drew suspicion like magnets. At 9:42 a.m., the sheriff's office received a call. A woman's voice, anxious, said she'd seen a suspicious man hanging around the diner, muttering to himself, possibly armed. Within minutes, 2 patrol units rolled toward Main Street. Sergeant Cole and Officer Riley stepped out, hands near their holsters. The man inside looked up as they entered. Silent. "Sir," Cole said firmly, "we've had a report. I'm gonna need to see some ID." The man didn't move. He simply said, "You don't want to do this." Cole's jaw tightened. "Excuse me?" "Just let me finish my coffee," the man replied quietly. "Then I'll explain." But patience wasn't one of Cole's virtues. He saw defiance, not dignity. And before the stranger could reach into his coat, Cole barked, "Hands where I can see them." Within seconds, the man was pressed against the counter, handcuffed, and escorted outside in front of the whole diner. Guess. Whispers. Phone cameras. To the people of Clearbrook, justice had been served. But they were wrong, terribly wrong. The hot noon sun burned down as the man was shoved beside the squad car. "Mind telling us what you're doing here?" Riley demanded. "Passing through," the man said softly. "With what? You don't even have luggage." The man looked toward the crowd gathering near the diner windows. "Sometimes what we carry isn't visible." Cole sneered. "Yeah. And what's in that coat? Invisible too." He patted him down roughly, pulling out a crumpled envelope, a small notebook, and a worn leather wallet. Inside the wallet, no driver's license. No credit cards. Just a plain metallic badge case. Cole flipped it open. At first he laughed. "Nice try, old man. Fake FBI badge." The man didn't flinch. "That's real. Call it in." Cole smirked. "Sure. And I'm the president." He tossed the badge onto the hood, not realizing that a single call, one phone number engraved beneath the badge ID, would soon append everything. Back at the sheriff's office, Deputy Martha checked the dispatch radio. Cole had radioed in, got a vagrant, possibly impersonating federal personnel. Booking him now. Martha frowned. "Badge number?" Cole read it off. There was a pause on the line. Then another voice came through, higher authority, clipped tone. "Repeat that badge number." Cole sighed and repeated it. This time, silence. Then, "Sergeant Cole, that's not possible. That badge belongs to Special Agent Samuel Danner. He's been with the Bureau for 33 years. Cole froze. "Say again." "Agent Danner's on a covert leave assignment. If you have him in custody, release him immediately and stand by for federal contact." Cole's throat went dry. The poor man sitting in his back seat was an FBI legend. Cole's patrol car screeched into the lot behind the Clearbrook Sheriff's office. He slammed the door, chest tight, sweat clinging to his collar. Inside the car, the vagrant sat silently, eyes fixed on the horizon, unbothered, calm, almost pitying. Cole yanked the door open. "Out," he ordered, voice shaking more than he wanted to admit. The man stepped out slowly. "I told you to call it in," he said. Cole swallowed. "Who are you really?" The man looked him square in the eye. "Special Agent Samuel Danner, Federal Bureau of Investigation. You just made a mistake you'll never forget." Riley's mouth fell open. "You're FBI?" Danner nodded. "And I was here for a reason you've just compromised." Cole's mind scrambled for an explanation. You were dressed like someone no one would notice," Danner finished. "That was the point." The air outside thickened with tension as two black SUVs rolled into the gravel lot, lights off, tinted windows glinting in the sunlight. The doors opened, 3 men and 1 woman stepped out, all wearing discreet bureau credentials. "Special Agent Danner," one of them said, "we've been trying to reach you. Are you all right?" Danner gave a curt nod. Cole felt the ground tilt beneath him. His heart pounded loud enough to drown the cicadas. The lead agent turned to Cole. "Sergeant, would you mind explaining why one of our senior undercover operatives was handcuffed in public?" Cole opened his mouth, but words failed. Riley stammered. We got a call from a local resident." "Who described a suspicious man," Danner interjected. "A man getting coffee." The agent looked unimpressed. "That'll be in the report." They moved inside. The same room where Clearbrook processed petty thieves now hosted 4 federal agents and 2 terrified local officers. Danner sat across from Cole, the cuffs gone, a glass of water untouched before him. "Why Clearbrook?" Cole finally asked. Danner leaned back. "I was investigating a corruption ring that stretched into this county, money laundering, falsified warrants, off-the-books arrests. I was following the trail quietly." Cole blinked. "You're saying in our department?" Danner's eyes didn't blink. "I'm saying some of your own have been selling justice for favors. You just happened to arrest the one person who could expose it." The room went still. Riley looked at his superior, uncertain whether to breathe. Cole's hands trembled slightly. "I didn't know." Danner softened. "I believe you. But ignorance doesn't absolve judgment." Later that evening, Danner stepped outside the station. The sunset painted the sky in orange and bruised purple. Cole followed him, voice low. "Why didn't you tell us who you were right away?" Danner watched the horizon. "Because the badge shouldn't be what earns respect," he said. "Character should." Cole frowned. "You're saying this was a test?" Danner smiled faintly. "Let's just say I saw an opportunity. You saw a homeless man. I saw how easily people forget their own humanity when uniforms and assumptions take over." He turned to face Cole. "Never let the power on your chest make you blind to the heart in front of you." As Danner prepared to leave, he handed Martha, the deputy, a sealed folder. "This belongs in evidence. Don't open it until you have a federal warrant on file." Inside that folder, months later, investigators would find proof that 2 senior county officials had been using the local police network to erase fines, bury cases, and launder bribes. The Clearbrook department would change forever. But that night, all Cole could do was watch as Danner's car disappeared down the dusty road, taillights fading like a confession swallowed by dusk. That evening, Cole sat alone in his kitchen, the weight of his badge heavy against the table. His wife asked softly, "Rough day?" He stared at the window, at his reflection. "Just a lesson," he murmured, "about the danger of judging a man by his shoes instead of his soul." She smiled faintly. "Then maybe you're a better cop today than you were yesterday." Outside, thunder rolled in the distance, echoing like a closing chapter. Time passed, but the memory didn't fade. Clearbrook had gone quiet since the day the FBI cars rolled through. The locals still whispered about the poor man with the badge, and the diner waitress swore she'd never judge a customer by their coat again. For Sergeant Cole, though, the silence was heavier. Every shift felt like walking through a mirror, seeing the reflection of the man he'd once handcuffed and the shame that came with it. But redemption has a strange way of finding those who are willing to change. One Tuesday morning, as the town stretched awake under the golden haze of dawn, Cole found a letter on his desk. No return address. Just his name, printed in bold, clean handwriting. He hesitated, then opened it. "Sergeant Cole, I don't believe in coincidences. I believe in lessons. The day you arrested me wasn't an accident, it was a reminder. Some men wear badges and forget their purpose. Others lose their way and find it again. You're the latter. Samuel Danner." At the bottom was a simple postscript. "P.S. Check the files you once doubted." Cole blinked. The files you once doubted? He turned to his computer and began searching through the internal records. Old case logs, evidence reports, dispatch records. Buried beneath months of data, one thing stood out. A series of missing property seizures, unsigned and unreported, all linked to one name, Deputy Albright. The same deputy who'd gone on medical leave. Right after Danner's visit. That afternoon, federal investigators returned to Clearbrook. This time, they weren't there for Danner. They were there because of him. Deputy Albright was arrested on charges of obstruction, falsifying records, and taking bribes to make evidence disappear. The mayor's brother was implicated. And for once, the headlines didn't read, "Local man arrested." They read, "FBI sting exposes corruption in Clearbrook County." Cole stood outside the courthouse as flashbulbs flickered, reporters shouting questions. He didn't speak. He didn't need to. He just watched as the truth, once buried, finally came to light. Weeks later, as the last of the corruption cases closed, Cole received another unexpected visitor. Samuel Danner. This time, he wasn't dressed like a drifter. He wore a simple gray suit, crisp white shirt, and that same calm expression that had once unsettled everyone in town. Cole stood up as he entered. "Agent Danner," he said, extending a hand. Danner smiled and shook it. "Just Sam today," he replied. "I thought I'd check in on how things are going." Cole exhaled. "You changed this place." Danner chuckled softly. "No, Sergeant. You did. I just gave you the mirror." They walked down Main Street together, past the diner, past the same table where Danner once sat, past the curious eyes that now looked at him with newfound respect. "I still think about that day," Cole admitted. "What if I had treated you differently?" Danner stopped and looked at him. "Then maybe I wouldn't have known who you really are," he said. "Mistakes reveal character. What matters is what you do after them." They passed a young boy sitting on the curb, holding a cardboard sign that said, "We'll work for food." Cole reached into his pocket and handed the boy a few dollars. Danner smiled faintly. "Lesson learned," he said. Before leaving town, Danner stood beside his black car, looking out at the fading sunlight. "Do you ever get tired?" Cole asked quietly. Danner looked at the sky. "Justice isn't a job," he said. "It's a journey. And sometimes the people we're meant to change are the ones holding the handcuffs." Cole nodded slowly. "Thank you, for everything." Danner extended his hand one last time. "For seeing past the badge," he said. He drove away without another word. No sirens, no flash. Just the hum of an engine fading into the distance. That night, Cole pinned his badge back on with steady hands. It no longer felt like authority, it felt like responsibility. He sat at his desk, looking at the framed note he'd placed above his nameplate. It was Danner's letter, now under glass, with 3 words highlighted in pen. "Some lessons save lives." The next morning, Clearbrook awoke to a new kind of peace, not the silence of fear, but the calm of truth restored. And for the first time in years, the town's name didn't stand for suspicion. It stood for change. Sometimes, the people we judge hardest carry the biggest truths. The man in rags might be the one holding the key to justice. The officer who falls might be the one who learns to stand again. In the end, respect isn't earned by titles, but by humanity. And Clearbrook learned, the hard way, that humility isn't weakness. It's strength. Hidden Tale Stories brings you real-life inspired stories about judgment, prejudice, black, life lesson, moral stories, karma, second chances, and more. Every story ends with a truth you'll never forget. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to stay tuned for more gripping stories that make you feel, think, and reflect.